What's up, guys, and welcome back to Lincoln, where we've made it to the end of the season. And well, it's been a bit of a disappointing season, actually. It was really good all the way up to the last game of the season, where we threw away the title. I honestly did not expect to even challenge West Brom this season. We were so far off them, even all the way up until like mid February. We were miles away from them, but we had a very strong end to the season. I think our signings that we brought in January really did help us sort of push on and catch West Brom in front of us. And going into the final game of the season, we were a point ahead. We were a point ahead of West Brom. All we had to do was win the game, and we drew it 2-2. It was, we scored some pretty sweet goals in that game and still ended up drawing the game, which was kind of disappointing. So, to be fair, it's been a good season. I came into it kind of hoping that it was going to be challenging for even a playoff place, and to even remotely get close to the automatic positions would have been amazing. And ultimately, we've completely overdone what we expected to do. I mean, the team has progressed very nicely. I think we've got probably what is to be thought of as a Premier League squad now with the rating of players that we have. But to challenge West Brom for the title, that was not expected, not even remotely. All the way up until, as I said, mid-February, we were about 10 points off them, and we had a very strong end to the season, and we managed to catch them and overtake them, and it wasn't to be, but it was good while it lasted. Anyway, having a look through the table, as you can see, Barnsley, Sheffield and Wigan all get relegated. Pretty close down there. They're only a point apart from each other, but there was a bit of a gap, a 5-point gap up to Millwall, so they did get cut adrift, those three at the bottom, a little bit. But yeah, it was I don't know, I wasn't really looking at the bottom half of the table, so I can't really comment on it, so I don't know if it was tight down there or what was going on, but those three have been relegated, so unfortunate for them. Obviously West Brom win the league by a point over us. Wolves, Hull, Leeds and Norwich all get promoted. No, they definitely do not. They all get into the playoff places, so one of them will get promoted. Very unfortunate Ipswich, they missed out on goal difference. Actually, as you can see, it was their defence that let them down. 4 goals conceded more than Norwich, yet they actually scored Ipswich 2 more goals than Norwich. So, their defence was what ultimately cost them a playoff place. But yeah, they were unlucky to miss out, and then there was a bit of a gap back to Preston, and then it was very tight in the mid-table sort of section there. As you can see, it's only a couple of points really separates. 4 points separates 8th all the way down to Birmingham in 14th. So yeah, it was a pretty tight table, apart from us and West Brom at the top, just absolutely dominating, 20 points clear. As for the squad, we're looking very good. Our players are progressing very nicely. Castro up to 77, Unsane 76. Rabbity's kind of plateaued a little bit at 75, but he's still an absolute beast when he gets into his positions in front of goal. Herbert Bauer, who I'm not too sure about. I'm wondering whether it's worth selling one of these players, either Bauer or Castro. Castro, we've had quite a lot of offers for Castro, and some very good-looking offers as well. And Herbert Bauer as well. We've had not as many offers, but a few. And I'm wondering whether it's worth getting rid of one. Maybe Bauer. Castro has not been performing as well as Rabity and Unsane. I think Unsane actually has more goals than Castro. This guy, he's good, and he does sort of assist quite a lot, but these two have been absolutely destroying it in the goal tally, and he's languishing behind. So it's I'm not sure whether he's really suited to the position he's playing, to be honest, and whether a formation change would suit him. But we've kind of got a problem where we've got far too many midfielders and not enough strikers and not enough defensive-minded players either. So we've got a load of left-sided players, a load of cams, an absolute ton of cams, and that's pretty much it. So we might need to look at the balance of the team a little bit. Our players, as you can see, Zagadu's come up a point or two, Con's up a couple, Palmer. This Buniel boy has been in absolute top form since he signed for us. Absolutely loving that. Malakia's up a point as well. Not even trained him at all. Actually, I've not trained Buniel either. I think the only people I've really been training is this Javier boy, or Javier. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I think it's Javier because he's Spanish. But we've been training him, and he's been coming up quite a lot. And I think we've been training. No, we haven't been. Who else have we been training? Estevaz possibly have been training, and this Thomas Nunes boy, who is actually really good. He's kind of annoying me because he's only 2 stars. We did eventually finally sign him. Finally, he turned 16, so we signed him. But he's only got 2-star skills, which isn't as bad as I thought it might be. I thought he would only be 1 star, but it's still pretty poor. And he's only got a 1-star weak foot. So unless he's on his right foot, he's pretty much useless. But when he is on his right foot and he gets a bit of space, he's absolutely deadly. So yeah, he's quite good. Like, even for like the weird stats that he's got, he's actually really good. He's actually really good at getting past people and just getting into space. He's quite impressive. So yeah, we've got a load of sort of attacking winger type players who we probably don't need all of them. So it's probably worth looking at either offloading them on loan or getting rid of them entirely. But we will be losing a couple of players towards the end of the season. I believe this Gao Junyai is he's leaving. I'm not going to renew his contract. Erdley is leaving. He's signed a pre-contract, so his contract expires at the end of the season, so he'll be off. And I believe we're also going to let Arnold's contract expire, and I think I'm letting Palmer's contract expire as well. So these are players that have been around for a while, and they're not bad, but they're not like nothing special. So I mean, Palmer's 32 now, so Arnold's 32 now, so he can clear off. Palmer's 28, which, I mean, he's still decent for sticking up front, but he's not quite Premier League quality. So I'm thinking get rid of him and possibly look for somebody who's a strong forward who can fill that gap a little bit, like just somebody that you can bring on in the last few minutes of games to kind of try and get something, grab onto a goal or something like that in the last couple of minutes. But yeah, there's a load of youth players in our squad that we could probably send out on loan and try and free up a little bit of our wage budget, because even though they're all youth players, they're only on like 440 quid a week, but we can probably try and get them a bit of experience playing somewhere else. But yeah, that's pretty much the squad, so I'll have a look through the rest of the tables and see what's happened throughout the season. So Burnley have won the FA Cup. We actually got knocked out. We had probably the hardest run in the FA Cup of anybody in this season. Like, if you look at the teams who have made it to the round of 16, they're all crap. Apart from Liverpool and Tottenham, they're all like what you would expect are rubbish. Like, you would expect there to be Chelsea's, City's, United's, Tottenham's, Liverpool, even teams like Everton, Southampton are there. And there's just like a lot of sort of low league Premier League sides and Championship sides, and that's about it. Like, even Sunderland managed to make it to the quarterfinals, but we beat Liverpool 4-1, which was a really good game for us. We then beat Fulham 3-0, again another really good game for us. We then had to play Tottenham in the semi-finals, which we ultimately lost 3-1. They were just better than us in every department that day, and they made it to the final before losing to Burnley. But apart from Tottenham and Liverpool, there's no teams there that like stand out as like potential like favourites going through that competition. So yeah, it's a very odd season in the FA Cup that all of the big teams apart from Tottenham and Liverpool got knocked out before the round of 16. So yeah, odd season in the FA Cup, but ultimately Burnley actually win it, which is a bit of a surprise, because when I saw Burnley versus Tottenham in the final, I kind of just assumed Tottenham were winning it, but hey ho. Burnley have made it. Tottenham did, however, win the Carabao Cup over Southampton. So this is much more sort of... Well, I say much more. It's a bit more realistic, this Carabao Cup this season. So we had Chelsea made it to the quarterfinals before getting knocked out by Huddersfield. Tottenham obviously made it all the way and won it. They had to play Brentford, Crystal Palace, Huddersfield, and then Southampton in the final. And we also had Arsenal made it through to the quarterfinal before getting knocked out by Everton. Southampton obviously made it to the final, and yeah, it's just a bit Stoke there as well. It's a bit more like balanced, I think. The teams that made it to the round of 16 are a bit more what you would expect to be there. There's still those odd teams that are kind of like things like Port Vale and Yeovil somehow making it, Luton somehow making it to the round of 16, but it is kind of what you would expect. I mean, if you look at it, it's 4 Premier League clubs. I'm not sure actually if Huddersfield must still be in the Premier League. Yeah, Huddersfield, Everton, Southampton and Tottenham, 4 Premier League teams all made it to the semi-final, which is kind of what you would expect ultimately. Championship playoffs. So it will be Hull that come up with us this season. So yeah, we'll big game there. Wolverhampton versus Well, actually, it's 2 legs, isn't it? So Wolves versus Norwich was a 5-3 affair, 5-4 affair, and Hull versus Leeds 2-1 over 2 legs, and then Hull obviously winning 2-0 in the final to go to join us in the Premier League next season. So that'll be interesting. That was our pre-season friendly. Copa Europe, which happened at the start of the season. Chelsea beat Man City 2-0. As you can remember from last season, Chelsea won the Champions League and Man City won the Europa League, so that's how they ended up there, and Chelsea won that. As for the Champions League, Barcelona win it this season. Again, Chelsea performing well, getting to the semi-final. Man United ultimately knocked them out before getting into the final and losing to Barcelona. But yeah, Man City in there all the way to the quarterfinals. They had a very tough run. They had PSG, then Barcelona. Barcelona actually had to play Bayern, Man City, Napoli, and then had to play Man United in the final. Chelsea with a tough path to the semi-final. So yeah, they ultimately lost to Juventus 3-2. No, sorry, no, they didn't. They beat Juventus 3-2. They then beat Roma 5-2 and ultimately lost to Man United 2-1, who actually had a tough run as well. They had to play Real Madrid, Monaco, Chelsea, and then ultimately Barcelona in the final, which they lost. But yeah, it's nothing massively surprising in there, really. Nothing. I can't see any absolutely outrageous turn-ups. Have a look at the Europa League, see what happened here. So Villarreal actually won that over Benfica, interestingly. Villarreal also beating Atletico on away goals. So yeah, again, nothing absolutely outrageous there. 2 Moscow clubs making it to the quarterfinal. That's quite impressive. But yeah, nothing stand out as being absolutely outrageous. No. So anyway, we'll go into the. Well, we're not going to go into that. I'm going to have a look at see what happened in the Premier League. Actually, that might be worth having a look at. So Tottenham have won the Premier League by a point over Man United. And then there's quite a gap. 11 points back down to Liverpool, who are on equal points with Arsenal. Chelsea miss out on Champions League by 2 points. Man City also miss out in Champions League by 4 points behind Chelsea. That's ridiculous. Swansea came 7th? What is this nonsense? Newcastle up there, Everton, West Ham. Well, that's just funny, really. West Ham finishing top half. Pfft, likely. What else happened? Aston Villa getting sent back down by an absolute country mile. 12 points. 12 points off of the bottom. They only got 14 points entire season. They had 2 wins, 8 draws, and 28 losses. Their goal difference, minus 51. They have absolutely been destroyed this season. Crystal Palace get relegated, 4 points off of Bournemouth, who are actually equal points with Brighton, who stay up on goal difference. Quite substantially better goal difference, but still only on goal difference. Burnley stay up 3 points ahead of them. And then there's a 5-point gap up to Huddersfield. But Aston Villa, come on, boys. You get promoted and then you put in a performance like that. That is absolutely outrageous. Anyway, yeah, I think Aston Villa, that's pretty outrageous. Spurs winning the league. I mean, I suppose you can see that. I mean, they've got Harry Kane, who's probably the best striker in the world at this stage, given that we're like 3 seasons in, so he's probably absolutely destroying it. They did also win the Carabao Cup and got all the way to the final of the FA Cup, so they've had a very good season this season. And I think the other turn-up for the books is Chelsea missing out in Champions League, Man City missing out in Champions League, and Swansea somehow finishing 7th. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Just having a look, Dortmund won Bundesliga impressively. 2 points over Bayern Munich. It's quite good going. Milan beat Juventus by 8 points to win the league. Napoli as well are like 3rd on with 3 points behind Juventus, but 8 points over Juventus. That's impressive. That's really impressive. Rangers winning the SPFL by 7 points. Not even the Celtic actually had a better goal difference, but obviously drew a hell of a lot more games. You can see Rangers won pretty much all of their games apart from one which they drew, and they lost 5. Whereas Celtic won only 23 games, lost fewer than Rangers, but drew substantially more. They drew 6 games to Rangers 1, so that's where they lost the league. They drew too many. Bit of a gap back to Aberdeen. Hibs get relegated. Hamilton go into the relegation playoffs, although then again they don't actually have the Scottish second division, so they'll be in the league anyway. Real win the La Liga by a point over Barcelona, who were 6 points ahead of Atletico. So yeah, pretty common. Nothing ridiculous going on there. That's what you would expect one of those three to be challenging. Well, you expect Real Madrid or Barcelona to be challenging. If like Atletico can get in there as well, but it's mainly a battle between Real Madrid and Barcelona, as you probably imagine. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that's happened around the world. As for the summer transfer window, what we'll try and do, I don't know. I have no idea. I have a couple of players on the shortlist that look like they could be something absolutely amazing in the future, so we'll see if we can get one of them. One of them's just, apparently, he recently joined. This has been for the last season, so hopefully he might actually become available. We've got another lad who's a striker who looks like he could become absolutely amazing as well, but they're looking for like 9 to 15 million for him, so we'll see what happens there. But we may offload one of these lads just to see if we can get some money for it. Yeah, see what happens. We may look at trying to get. I might try and sell Bauer and find another actual midfielder, because although he can play midfield, he's just not really done much. Not much at all. So we'll see what happens. We may look at another left back, but we've still got Malakia for another 6 months, so that'll probably hang around until January before we look at doing anything about that. But I've not really got any real plans for this transfer window, so we'll just see what happens and go with the flow. But yeah, that's pretty much been this season. So we'll be in the Premier League next season, absolutely amazingly, and yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it. Hopefully, well, I'd say I'm gonna enjoy it. I may enjoy it. Depends how well we play. But we have a very strong team. I think our squad is Premier League quality, so I think we should be in a good position going into the Premier League. I don't think we're going to win it. I don't think we're even going to come close to winning it. But we'll see what happens in the next few months. We don't have that much money to play with, so that's why I'm thinking if we sell a few players, it might be better than seeing what happens. So we'll see what the club give us to spend. Probably not a lot, but we'll hopefully be able to make a couple of purchases with whatever they give us. But yeah, that's been the championship. So if you've enjoyed this episode and this season, then give this video a thumbs up and subscribe as well if you're new around here. That'd be absolutely amazing. Also, for some reason, I don't know like what's going on there, but Barcelona have me as their manager because they've got the same model as me. Yeah, that's going to call it a week. So again, I've already said, and thumbs up, subscribe, and all that other nonsense. So yeah, I'll catch you guys next week. So until then, cheerio.